Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks to Luke and the team for inviting me here to speak in this session. What if, the future. That's just a quote from John Lennon up there. Imagine, it's easy if you try. You can't create something that you haven't got a good thought about, a good sort of framework in your imagination. So I thought I would just share a few personal thoughts on where I see the future of Bath going in terms of arts and culture. Just a quick word about the Cultural Forum. It's, as John said, it is an independent coalition. It's a membership organisation. The idea is that we champion culture and creativity in the community and for the economy. And we're focused on those three main things: encouraging cultural enterprise, providing cultural leadership, and promoting cultural literacy. And we're deliberately called the Cultural Forum for the Bath area because, as far as we're concerned, the Bath area goes from Frome to Stroud to Bristol over to Trowbridge and distant places like that. So, Wiltshire Music Centre is a member. We've got the Deverell Festivals are members of the Cultural Forum. It does create us problems when Baines give us small amounts of money every now and then because they just want it spent just in Baines and they don't want any leakage of benefit over the border into strange places like Gloucestershire or Somerset or Wiltshire. So we have to be very careful internally. Just a quick one, that's Ed Vasey there. We sandbagged him on a recent trip to Bath by sticking a copy of our manifesto in his hand and taking a photograph of him before he knew what was happening. So we've got this great picture of the current Minister for State and Culture and the Digital Economy standing there rather bemused, holding up a copy of the Cultural Forum's manifesto. So we haven't deployed that as much as we're going to in the coming years. Right. I was lucky to be part of, a couple of years ago, a thing called the Bath City Identity Project, which was about restoring Bath. It was to try and create a future narrative for Bath. And one of the things I do is I'm a professional storyteller and narrative consultant, and I was engaged in that capacity with this project. And this is the sort of outcome of about 18 months or so of thinking and discussions with people about what a future narrative for Bath could be. We've got 4 pillars there which people came up with. The idea of Bath as a place that is heavily involved with recreation, with enterprise, assembly and learning. And these are core characteristics of the place that go back over the centuries. I would like to read you that because it's quite important. This is sort of my vision. This is the vision that me and the Cultural Forum and an organisation called The Bridge, who are the guardians of this narrative, are now trying to bring into reality. So the city of Bath, internationally recognised as a masterpiece of human creative genius, a sparse city with a long tradition of radical reinvention and discovery. The Bath of today was shaped by the extraordinary imagination and entrepreneurialism of our ancestors, who created a city so innovative and beautiful that UNESCO designated it a World Heritage Site of outstanding universal value. So at a time when being nimble is so important, and small has never been more beautiful, Bath is the perfect place to join an unusually high concentration of enterprising minds, unlock investment capital, and share social ambition. It offers a new model of a compact, connected, and collaborative city where curiosity and playfulness, making, and the fostering of talent and knowledge across all ages, backgrounds, and sectors encourage individuals and enterprises to flourish in the long term. And this is the vision bit at the end. Bath will become internationally renowned as a beautifully invented and entrepreneurial 21st century city with a strong social purpose and spirit of well-being where everyone is invited to think big. A city ready to create an extraordinary legacy for future generations. I wanted to say that because I wanted to give that vision voice rather than just have it read and ignored. Now, you'll get the slides for this. And check out the Bath Bridge website as well if you're interested in pursuing the Bridge's agenda to try and make this real. Okay. I've been a resident of Bath for about 25 years this time around. I was here in the 50s and then in the 70s. My mum used to push me around Parade Gardens in a buggy while my dad, being a military boy, son of a military family, my dad was away fighting the Arabs in Suez. So I've been around Bath for quite some time, and the course of this narrative project got me thinking about Bath being a place of creative tension. There's a lot of duality in Bath, and the creativeness, the artistic output from the people that live here, the creative people, generally plays with these sort of tensions, or comes from where these tensions collide. So, we've got the Coneheads there, Natural Theatre Company. We've also got Jane Austen Festival parading around the Crescent. So the tensions, I think, ancient and modern. We've got conservation and transformation, peacefulness and dynamism, sense of elegance, but also sense of edginess, caring and carousing, festival, solemnity, the spiritual with the abbey and the profane, privilege and deprivation. We shouldn't ignore the deprivation. There's parochial and whole city. Bath is a place of villages, Widcombe, Lark Hall, but it's also got, when it plays together, it can become a whole city place of quite of strength. So these are things which I think we can play with creatively and help to provide a bit of a motor for creative output in Bath. Now we've got a strategy for culture and creative industries in Bath, and this is it. I think Luke's got a copy of it on electronically available, so everybody can send that out. But I didn't want to talk about the strategy. That's been written. What I want to talk about is how we make it live, implementation. And there's a framework in the strategy for how we, bring forward this strategic context to make it a useful framework in which to go forward. So there's a thing called the Cultural and Creative Investment Board, which is in the process of being set up. That's going to be a sort of strategic advisory group. Included on that will be representatives from Arts Council England and Heritage Lottery Fund. The idea is it will identify strategic priorities and possibilities for coordinating investment in Bath and the Bath area. It's not going to have any money of its own, but the stamp of approval from the Cultural and Creative Investment Board will give you, a chance for your funding applications, individual applications, to have more success. So I would encourage anyone who's putting in an arts application to ACE particularly to reference this strategy and to think about that framework when they're putting their grants in. Key in this process is the Creative and Cultural Bath, which is a new community interest company that's being formed. It's sort of not a merger between Creative Bath, the Cultural Forum, and the Guild, but it is a sort of collaboration between them, a partnership between them. The idea there's going to be one central space in Bath where the cultural and creative industries, over the whole spectrum of cultural and creative industries, are going to have one sort of locus of identity as a shared space. And it's going to be a single entity that the council, we hope, will fund a little bit. And then Cultural Forum and Creative Bath are both membership organisations. We have wide members, but there's a whole bunch of other specialist groups and individuals like yourselves who are all doing stuff for real, self-initiated, self-governing, active in partnerships, collaboration and networking, actually doing things, delivering projects and running events. So that's the sort of framework that the strategy envisages as existing from now on. Read the strategy if you get a chance and reference it in your applications for funding. So Arts in Bath, future action. You'll notice Brian Madigan there, sitting next to Beth Porter. I don't know if you know Beth at all. That was taken at Literature Festival event a few years ago. I've got 3 areas which concern me in terms of the future direction of Arts in Bath, and that's property in the public realm, number 1, projects, number 2, and people, number 3. I think for me, the future exists in making things happen in these 3 main areas. Now, we've got the needs of various arts organisations, groups, individuals are many and varied in Bath. We've got city centre venues, which are generally small. There's 16 theatre, is that right, Luke? 16 theatre venues, something like that. There's loads of other places for music and for other performance stuff. We've got new facilities at the University of Bath now with the Edge up the top of the hill. Bath Spa University's got the Commons building, more digital perhaps. But somebody mentioned earlier on this morning about, are we going to travel distances like into Wiltshire or to Bristol or something? It's difficult enough sometimes to get people just to go up the hill or out to Newton Park to go and see stuff. So, why is that? What have we got to do to break that down? But the main thing that concerns me about property in the public realm is essentially in Bath's rush to housing, we are cleansing Bath of working space for artists and makers and performers to rehearse in and this sort of thing. So there's a real danger at the moment that we're going to squeeze out of Bath all the operational space that artists need to just play with and practice in and do their stuff in. So one of my prime concerns is trying to lobby for affordable space for artists and makers to use as working space within the city. And that's been the case for 20 odd years, ever since some of us first founded the Bath Area Network for Artists, which is, if anybody's got longer memories, will remember from, started in 1998, I think. Penny, didn't we? Yeah, 98. Projects. There's a lot of good project activity going on at the moment. One thing in terms of bridging gap between Bath and Bristol is the Bath and Bristol Cultural Destinations Project. It's predicated on cultural tourism, but it's also doing stuff for the arts. This weekend is the Bath Arts Weekender. I don't know if anybody can identify that little sort of segmented, exploding pomegranate type thing in the bottom right there. That is the Arts Weekend, the Bath and Bristol Arts Weekender logo. If you haven't seen that, you'll see a bit more of it this weekend, because there's a lot of stuff going on in Bath, in Bristol, and in trains between the two sites over the next 3 days. Do get involved, do go along to see things. But in terms of projects, I think we need to raise ambitions through new ideas and a shared commitment to excellence. I mean, quality is often a difficult thing in the arts to talk about and to get to grips with. We talked a bit about that earlier this afternoon, but I think it's something we can't shy away from. You know, what does excellence mean in the context of trying to reach audiences, trying to get people to come along and see stuff without us compromising as performing artists? We've got to obviously work more collaboratively within and across art forms and organisations, and crucially explore more international connections for partnerships and funding, not just in the country but elsewhere. Bath particularly has twinning organisations. We've got connections already in Europe. We can develop more with the USA and China. There's no good asking the council to help here, because they just don't have they've got nobody on their staff really to try and foster and help the likes of the rest of us to try and leverage money out of Europe, which is completely different to some of our twin cities like Aix-en-Provence, who have about 9 people geared up to getting European money to sort of help them and improve their environment. So we lag behind on that. Why is that? We don't have to put up with that. People. Projects, just before I go. Penny's going to be talking about child-friendly city in a minute, and that's also another big, all-embracing, large project that's got a lot of life and legs behind it at the moment, and you'll hear more about in a minute. People, increasing opportunities for creative employment, real jobs. I used to work with, some of the pictures there are Bath Spa University students on the streets of Bath during the Literature Festival doing performance stuff. I used to get out with them, try and get them on the streets during the Literature Festival, late February, early March. Not a good time to be on the streets if you're a performing artist, but great fun if you can do it. So we had a lot of fun getting out and about. Students often hemorrhage out of the city because there's nowhere here to work, but it's not very easily affordable place to stay and live, and they don't have the employment possibilities unless they set up as self-employed spoken word artists or whatever. So we want to try and do more to retain Bath Spa students in the city and to make use of their talents. We also want to improve skills development, skills sharing between arts organisations, and to support leadership and future talent development. And by leadership, I don't mean the development of leaders, I mean leadership as a quality in everybody, and talent wherever it pops up. Okay. There was just one thing I wanted to say about property in the public realm as well. I don't think we use the public realm in Bath, which is an amazing backdrop that we have in this particularly beautiful city, as much as we could and should do. We don't get out on the streets enough. Bath is sort of dead between 5 and 7 o'clock in the evening. There could be more sort of, cafe culture, more music in the cafes at night, more revolution in the air, to quote Bob Dylan. So there's more of an evening, nighttime buzz thing that needs to happen in the city, I think. And we can make that happen if we think hard about it. So very quickly, just want a couple of quotes to finish. Abraham Lincoln, the best way to predict the future is to create it. We've got to do stuff. Just get out there and do stuff. Strategies are all very well, policies are all very, very well, but the best way to actually go down is to be activist about it, be creative activists, get out there and start doing stuff, but just share what you're doing with others so you don't get in each other's way, stumble or fall. Malcolm X, another significant leader in the USA. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. So those are the same sort of ideas, really. But, seize the day. In the middle there, that's a picture of Queen Square. That's from Forest of the Imagination. That was Queen Square taken over by Forest of the Imagination project. We could do more taking over of Queen Square for arts and culture projects. On the left and right of that are two large schemes at the moment. On the left is the Abbey Footprint project, which is trying to bring the area underneath the Abbey courtyard into play for more community art space, possibly, conferences and stuff, activity. On the right is the Archway project, which is the Roman baths. They're trying to create an educational resource in there and also somewhere that could be used for, arts activity. We don't have to think of arts activity, performance activity going on just in theatres, as somebody said earlier. It's wherever there's space and it's appropriate. Lots of storytelling goes on in those venues already. We could do more. Bottom left is the now sort of failed Craneworks project. It's not going to be on that site, the old Walcott Rec Yard. It might still re-emerge somewhere else in Bath. We just don't know, but it was just a step too far for the council and its developers. So that remains a dream that is still sort of in the background. On the right, bottom right, is a new idea to use some of the arches along the railway line between the station and going out towards to the west of the city for art space, for a creative working space or for gallery space. That's in very early days at the moment, but just the thing that for me is common about all these is the idea that in a small city which is bounded by Greenbelt, the only place we've got to go really is to make better use of the spaces we've already got here. So we need to think creatively about how we use those spaces, how we fill them with life, creative activity, and get that sense of buzz going on. So that's sort of my vision. Bring the buzz back to Bath. Thank you very much.